It's top heavy, it's rowdy, it's flawless. Today we're drinking Hazy Little Thing IPA. Hi guys, it's Jim here from Dr. Tankenstein with another episode of Beers of the British Isles. On today's episode, we're drinking Hazy Little Thing IPA. Now before I go into this, I have to just issue a little bit of a disclaimer. So this is Hazy Little Thing Session Edition. Now in the States, this is simply called Little Thing IPA. Over here, Hazy Little Thing. And that's because in America, Sierra Nevada also make a big IPA, a bigger IPA, 6.0% IPA called Hazy Little Thing. This one in America is called Little Thing, and this is 4.6%. So this is the session edition. Now whether 4.6% is session is up to you to decide. I'm not going to pass judgment on that. But it's a lower alcohol beer anyway. So when I was doing research on this, it's kind of a bit of a mishmash between the higher alcohol and the lower alcohol. So what I've done is I've kind of distilled what I think will be the same across both beers. So grist and hop additions, yeast, things like that. So if anything I say is incorrect for this beer, it's definitely correct for the higher alcohol beer anyway. So like I said, this is 4.6%. Something I did like when I was kind of comparing the big brother and the little brother is that the 6.0% beer has 45 IBUs. This 4.6% beer has 25 IBUs. So with dialing down the alcohol, they've also dialed in the IBUs. And this is like kind of goes back to something that I used to go on about all the time, but seem to not really mention it anymore. And that's the bitterness to alcohol, or the bitterness to gravity ratio in beers. So bringing down the IBU just maintains the balance. If you'd have kept the 45 IBUs in it, it wouldn't taste like the same beer with lower alcohol. It would probably have a different kind of feel to it than the higher alcohol beer. So that's it, 25 IBUs. And in true American IPA fashion, this has 6 hops in it. You know, would you expect anything else from an American brewery? 6 American hops. We got some classics like Magnum, Comet, and we got Citra, Dorado, Mosaic, and Chinook. That, you know, 6 just absolute powerhouse hops packed into this 355ml can. To be fair, so all those hops. This isn't a New England IPA, or it certainly doesn't say that it is on the can. I think that American breweries are a little bit more careful with throwing that label around. This is simply a hazy IPA. So what I'm imagining is the oats from the malt bill. You know, we got pale, Munich, oats, wheat in there. So they're contributing some haze. I'm imagining it's quite early dry hopped as well, but we'll wait to see whether it has that kind of early dry hop resin to it. Because for a true hazy beer, for haze that just won't fall out, you really need that kind of really tight biotransformation hop addition. In my experience, that's, you know, my experience is that you really need that hop haze rather than just relying on the oats and the wheat to provide that. That being said, the yeast that they've used is on their website. It's simply the ale yeast, but Sierra Nevada, I know, have their own kind of special strain of ale yeast that they use across all their beers. And this has been copied by other companies. I think you can get like a version of it that they call the Chico strain, because Sierra Nevada from Chico, California, such iconic beers that they have a yeast named after them, I guess. So this is all stacking up to be a good beer. You know, Sierra Nevada, real good brewery. Those hops, real good hops. That malt bill, can't lie. I'm a little bit nervous going into this, and I will crack it open in a sec. Just because when a brewery has such an iconic beer, like the Sierra Nevada Pale Ale, I know I shouldn't mention it, but is such an iconic beer, I always worry that when they go to the small pack stuff, when they start kind of, you know, churning out new stuff in small pack like this, that the quality just doesn't carry over. But I'll leave that up to the tasting. I'm not going to be prejudiced going into this. I'm just going to go into it. Okay, we're all poured in, and I'm quite impressed. Initially, if you can get a glimpse at the head retention before it dissipates in my rubbish glass, it's really good. So, as I keep going on about, oats and wheat really promote head retention because they're such high protein grains. I'm not sure if it's malted wheat or unmalted wheat in this. Wheat typically has a really high protein content, so it doesn't really matter either way. And those grains, like I say, they're promoting the head retention. They're promoting this really soft haze, I would say. It's not a juice bomb by any stretch. It's not opaque. It doesn't look like a plastic glass or anything. It's just got this really super pale color. I mean, this might be the palest beer I've ever seen. It's barely even yellow. The color is so slight in this beer. And the haze, I guess, the haze adds to the aesthetic, but it's a very pale beer. It's not unpleasant looking, but it's certainly not super attractive. It looks, if I'm honest, it looks like a weaker version of something. Maybe that's just in my head, but that's the way it looks. So, yeah, so the aroma, lovely, yeah. So pine, resin. I'm sure as this beer warms up, I'm gonna get more of that kind of, I can almost smell some pineapple in there. So just that kind of resinous pine character that just coats your nostrils, and then poking through underneath just a little bit is some pineapple. Yeah. First thing I'll say is the carbonation is very strong in this. I know that this is 25 IBUs, so it's not bitter, but the mouthfeel is very sharp due to that carbonation. Like I say, this isn't a New England IPA, so that's fine. That's probably why this isn't a New England IPA, because obviously those NEPAs, they rely on that soft body, whereas this is simply a hazy little thing. So it can be as sharp as it wants, really, and that's fine. The hop character, yeah, it almost tastes like there's some pineapple juice in this. That's a really pronounced pineapple flavor. So I guess all those hops just melding together, just are coming together to make this really nice tropical pineapple flavor. It's very complex, just a bit sweet, and if you really look for it, you can almost get a little bit of peach. Yeah, it's just a touch of peach in the mouth, but that's after that initial, like I say, the carbonation hits you, then the pineapple's very pronounced, and just the peach just lingers ever so slightly afterwards. It just kind of hangs around after the room's empty, if you will. Malt character is really lacking, and that's not such a bad thing because, like I say, this is the session version of a bigger beer, so there would have had to have been a cutback on the malt character. They've preserved the balance, like I say, by dialing in the bitterness. Sierra Nevada, I gushed about this brewery already on the previous episode I did for another beer by those guys. Founded in 1980, Chico, California, by Ken Grossman, not the sauce guy. And it's just a wonderful brewery. They do so much good in the world, both in the beer industry and outside of the beer industry, using their platform to just really make their dreams come true. Which is awesome. You know, they're helping the planet with their environmental efforts. They're helping against the wildfires last year with the Paradise Project. Something that I think is just amazing, and I'm not sure you'll be able to see it on the camera, but there's a little quote here on the top of the can, and it's family owned, operated, and argued over. I don't know why, when I saw that, I just immediately thought, that is such a nice sentiment, because that's exactly what families do, isn't it? They work together and they argue, and I think that's just, for some reason, that really resonated with me, that Sierra Nevada are just really putting themselves out there as, we're the nice guys, trust us, we won't steer you wrong. I've gone on for long enough about this Hazy Little Thing in the slightly larger can than usual. So, like I say, the colour is very, very strange. It's such a slight colour. It's not unattractive, and I'm still drinking it. But I like to see a little bit more colour in my beer than this. The haze, it is hazy, but in today's world, this is just a beer, you know. I mean, maybe the big boy, the big brother of this beer, maybe that has a lot more haze in it. But hey, I'm certainly not going to call out Sierra Nevada on not having enough haze in their IPA. Yeah, so aroma, like I said earlier, yeah. So it's that pineapple is poking through now, but you're still getting that resinous piney character, and yeah, pineapple. Maybe even the peach is coming through in the aroma too. It's much more enjoyable now that it's been in the glass for, what, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever it has been. And that some of that carbonation's kind of dissipated. It's much more enjoyable now, much less sharp. You can really appreciate all the mouthfeel in this beer now, because considering they've started, it's strange when you start from scratch with a beer. You can do whatever you want, you know. You can engineer it to be a certain way, but if you're starting from an already finished project and trying to cut back, you know, some things may get lost along the way. When you're bringing a beer down in alcohol, one of those things is often mouthfeel and body. I don't think they've really lost a lot of that body, and I think that might be because they're using oats and wheat in there, which, like I say, really promote body. But they've done a fantastic job both on bringing the beer down. Obviously, I haven't tried the higher alcohol version, but they've done a really good job with modifying an existing recipe to make something new. It really, really works. If this beer were a song, there's a real obvious choice, but I think it really fits. This would be Crazy Little Thing Called Love by Queen. The reason, name aside, is that Crazy Little Thing Called Love is kind of a weird sort of departure from Queen's normal stuff. You know, it kind of has that sort of 50s vibe to it that Queen don't really usually have. And this is a bit of a departure from Sierra Nevada's stuff. Sierra Nevada usually just crack out some really, down the line, can I say, some fundamentally really good beers. This hazy thing is a little bit of a departure from what I know them to be doing. And I think they pulled it off, as you would imagine they would. So yeah, so head down to Tesco or anywhere else you can find it, and grab yourself a Hazy Little Thing Session IPA. And if you like it, as always, head down to your local bottle shop, head down to your local brewery and tell them that you had a Hazy Little Thing and that you really loved it and that you want something similar. There's loads of stuff out there. I can't promise it'll be as good as the Sierra Nevada one, but it'll be damn good, that's for sure. Until then, guys, cheers.